And welcome to another episode of Creating Cultures That Outperform. We're on to a new series, folks. This time it's Creating Culture Without Walls. I don't know what could be more important, but I'm actually here today with my amazing co host, Terry Mays, certified culture engineer. I'm Frank Wander, the founder and board member of People Productive. I hope you enjoyed our last series, which, boy, we got some good shares and stuff on that. That really came out well, Tara. I think people
Yeah,
like it a lot. And we're going to, in this four-part series we have for you, we're starting off with breaking down external walls with partners. Those are the first walls to come down. Partners are super important. You really should be breaking down all your internal walls and silos. You should probably start with a great culture. We decided to do partners first. Next, we're going to cover breaking down all the internal walls and silos on the inside of your company, crowdsourcing. How do you gather stuff from outside the company, like from Innocentive and other platforms where you can crowdsource ideas or innovation or solutions? And lastly, building a business ecosystem where everybody wins as one. So good series. We're into this hybrid work environment where a lot of the walls have come down within the company. People are really starting to learn to collaborate from anywhere. Now you can extend beyond the walls of your company. Take the same practices that allow you to take remote workers and make them feel that they're, have a sense of belonging. We're winning as one team, and take that out to your partners. So Terry and I have some thoughts to share for you on proven practices that are going to help you. And we'll start with where it all begins, which is this shared executive sponsorship. You're never going to get there if you don't make culture without walls an objective of both companies, your partner companies and the internal company. And that means you've got to set integration as a leadership KPI across the companies. No question about it. You've got to get that done.
yeah. It has to be a one team approach. You have to get away from that us and them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have people feeling like they're an outsider, that they don't have a voice on the team. Um, your voice doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter because you're a contractor or you're a consultant. Your voice doesn't matter as much as a full-time employee. You have to kill that vibe very early on because people need to feel like they're a part of a team. And the way you do that is by making everybody an equal, let their voices all have equal weight.
Yep.
Bring them in, make it something where from the top down leadership is setting examples by showing people that everybody matters. And it's not just something that we say, but it's evident in how we do the things that we do.
Yeah, and it's the cultures of the two companies. If you're really good at partnering as an external consulting firm, you could do this with all of your clients. If you're good at partnering as a company, you could do it with all your partners. But you need two companies that's kind of their identity, know how to do this. So you've got to build this over time. And if you have a great partner and they don't do that with everybody, maybe you could be the first company they learn to do that with.
Yeah. And it has to be intentional. This
Yeah.
won't happen with on accident. This won't be a oops activity. You've got
Right.
to do it on purpose.
And that means now you got to integrate the governance structures, right? Because you're all working under one governance umbrella. You can have your own governance that goes up to your boards, but as far as the work you're doing, decision making protocols, how do you make a decision? These things have to be defined. People have to follow them. You should be good at onboarding people from either company onto whatever projects, programs, whatever things you're doing. You got to get that done and make sure it works right, and get them acculturated as quickly as possible.
Yes, all of those unspoken rules that
Yeah.
exist in the organization, you've got to make sure that everybody knows those things, those kind of landmines that people can step into when they're new in the organization and don't know about those things. Make sure you let people know.
Yeah. And clarify roles and responsibilities, accountabilities, make sure there's no mysteries. You know,
No mysteries.
and now you've got those mechanics, all the mechanical stuff working, the executive stuff working. And now, Tara, we have shared purpose.
Yeah, we're starting with that shared purpose. So I love that Simon Sinek start with why.
Mm-hmm.
Once you let people know why they're doing what they're doing, it helps them connect with the vision. It helps them connect with, the activity that's being done. And so once that happens, they start to really bring forth their creative juices. They're thinking more deeply about it. It becomes more meaningful and passionate. experience because they know the why. So not just saying this is what we're doing, but we're telling them why we're doing, why does this matter? And
Yeah.
we're not just doing that with the employees, we're also doing that with our third parties that are involved, not just with, the deliverables and saying, you're responsible for these deliverables, but this is why, this is how it connects to the overall vision. And you're not just designing assets, you're really helping to tell the story. And that's what inspires
I think
customers.
that's what's very important,
Inspires
right? That they are helping build a customer experience. They're not just a vendor in there doing
people.
work. They're really helping touch a customer. I think that's so important.
Yeah,
And they should feel like they're on the team, they're not a second thought. They're on the team
right.
as much as anybody is on the team. That means they're included in all relevant meetings,
Yeah.
communications.
They have all the same tools as everybody else. They don't have limited access because they're a third party. They're a part of the team. And so they have all the same rights and responsibilities as
Right.
everybody else. It's not some kind of a situation where you have second class citizens. If you're treating people like they're second class citizens, they're going to respond like they're second class citizens. They're not going to care for the business the way they should if they feel like the business is not caring for them in a proper way.
Yeah. And I think the inclusive language is really important. Make
It's
sure it's always
critical.
about we. We're going to do this. This is about us. It's not, hey, you're doing this and I'm doing this. No, we're doing this together. You happen to have this piece of it. I happen to have this piece. But
Mhm.
this is an us mission.
Yeah, you have to kill that us and them vibe. And sometimes it comes back, but you still have to kill it off because it
Got it.
it will be death to a project if you allow that kind of philosophy of us and them, this elitist class thinking, and this is a second class citizen, that kind of activity in your organization will absolutely kill a project. It will bring
Well,
it to its knees.
that's putting an emotional wall up. That's what
Yeah,
that is.
yeah,
And you're trying to tear down all the walls here. That's what you're doing.
right. So you want to communicate those cultural norms early. You want to know that people understand what's expected of them. So, how they're expected to communicate, their tone and feedback, that is so important. So very important because you can have some hotheads in the room that want to scream and yell at people, but you cannot allow them to do that. I know that that is just the way some people communicate, but you have to make sure that people don't feel disrespected or that people are talking over them. You want to make sure you're giving them some kind of cultural onboarding so that they really understand the vibe in the organization. And it's not just something that we say and put it on paper and say that we do it, but it's actually something that we do. And in
Yeah.
this world, where we've got all these different time zones and people are working from anywhere, I know a lot of people are being asked to go back into the office, but there are still some companies that are allowing people to work from anywhere. You've got to be sensitive to time zones so that you're not scheduling people for meetings at the crack of dawn or the middle of the night. So all of those norms should be set and they should be clear and clarified so that everybody knows what's expected of them.
And by the way, this comes out of that shared governance. This is part of the governance structure. That means you've
Yeah,
built these norms together with this partner because they may have norms that are very important to them and you have norms that are important to you. You've got to integrate them and come up with your culture code, which is a shared culture code. It's not something you give your partner and say, hey, here's the culture. It's something that you get them to buy into.
absolutely.
And then you want to make sure that you're celebrating everybody's wins, not just the people on your team. Remember, this is an us mission. We're in this together, and so you got to crawl out great work, group wins. You got to celebrate success all the time, and they're equal partners.
Yes. Absolutely. You want people to know that they're celebrated and appreciated no matter which company they work for.
Oh yeah, a win's a win.
A win is a win, and be intentional about that. Make sure you're recognizing your vendors and suppliers that are bringing so much value to your organization. Don't just let that go overlooked because they don't work for your company. As a leader, you need to recognize the people that are adding value, no matter what company they work for.
Yeah,
Whether
you got to have joint town halls, and you've got to recognize people
absolutely.
from both companies in front of everybody. And as the executive, you've got to model the behavior you want, right? Because people don't do what you say, they do what you do. You've got to do it. You've got to set the tone and make sure that carries down through every joint team in the whole place.
Yes, that absolutely boosts morale and loyalty. When
Yeah,
people know that they're appreciated, they tend to want to do more of that same good work. They want to give it their all when they know that it's appreciated. When people feel like nobody cares, then they start to act like nobody cares.
yeah, big time. And Terry, I really like this one you put in here. I think this is
Yeah.
superb. Why don't you cover that?
So, people often feel like building relationships can be a daunting task, especially if you're not a people person. If you're not very outgoing and you feel like, I really just don't know how to go about doing that. This idea of micro moments of relationship where, it's just something very simple. You're standing at the coffee pot together and you have just kind of a quick introduction. Hey, I know you're new in the organization. My name is Terry. I work in this area. I can help you navigate the office. If you have any questions, feel free to use me as a resource. It can be something as simple as that. It's not very long winded. You don't have to, just give them 30 minutes of conversation unless the conversation goes there. But, it's just a quick way to let the person know, hey, you're not here alone. You're not in this place by yourself. It's a quick and easy way to
Yeah,
build rapport with people. Doing those just quick check-ins, asking them about themselves, tell me a little bit about you. Do you have a family? Do you not have a family? Whatever the case might be, inviting them to give you those little tidbits that humanize them, that helps you to see that, we're all just humans. We're all just trying to make connections.
yeah. And, bringing those teams together, making sure all the leaders and managers in the place bring these joint teams of people together and they get to know one another intentionally. You have set time aside so people really get to know one another.
Yes.
And so that's very important. And we had a great episode 5 of hybrid and remote work that works, which was 2 weeks ago, was on how a leader could build a schedule to make sure they do all the things they need to do when not everybody's sitting around them. So these teams are going to include office, hybrid, remote, everything. And it's all got to be integrated in together. But if you're already being a great hybrid leader, then these are the types of things you're going to make sure in that schedule. Go check that episode out. I think we did a super job.
Yes.
Align on values, on boundaries. Very important. You always have to be clear about non-negotiables. Confidentiality. Uh-oh, I have a visitor. That means I left the door open. That
Do
means
you have a visitor?
Dewey came down. Hey, Dewey, say hi to everybody. Oh, what are you doing, you big nutty boy? I better go put him out of here. When he walks around down here, boy, it is noisy because of the floor. All right, buddy, come on.
Dewey decided to join the show this week. But while we wait for Frank to come back, this alignment on values and boundaries, it really helps set the tone for what people should expect in the organization. They don't have to just kind of step into the landmine. You can really go ahead and let people know what's expected of them and be clear about that. If it's something that's a non-negotiable, make sure they understand that. Make sure they don't think that it's optional when it's really not. Don't leave that unspoken. As a leader, if there are things that you feel passionate about, for example, turning your camera on during meetings, if that's something that's non-negotiable for you, say that so that people understand how important it is versus leaving it with the feeling that it's optional, but really and truly it's not. So make sure you're not leaving people in that situation where they're kind of like trying to figure it out. Is it negotiable or isn't it? And then show how values drive your work. You really want people to be able to connect the dots. You want them to not have to try to figure things out on their own.
I'm a firm believer in camera on meetings, but not all companies operate that way. And
Right.
so, Terry, you're 100% right. Those little things, which could be a pet peeve for somebody, if it's not dealt with up front in an open, honest, authentic, and sincere way, it can get people annoyed.
Yeah.
And you don't want one group of people, everybody has a camera on, the other group have to, right? Everybody's got to be on the same team. I think that's super important. And Dewey's on our team now, by the way,
Yes.
since he
Yeah.
came to the show.
Dewey and Milo. We can't leave Milo out.
Oh, I'll have to get Milo on the next show. Yeah, the brother. Debrief and learn together. You don't necessarily learn by doing, you learn by reflecting on what happened and what you did. And I think this is great. Invite reflection, what worked, what didn't. You got to learn and debrief together. It's super important.
Yeah. You have to be able to talk about the hard parts. So sometimes the things that didn't go so well, you can learn a lot about yourself, about your coworkers, about the project itself. Sometimes things don't go well, and that's not a problem. That's not a big deal. You get to learn something whether they go bad or not. It really reminds me of that Nelson Mandela quote is, I never lose. I either learn or I win. So
Yeah.
either way, I'm getting something out of it. So don't always see failure as a problem or making a mistake as a problem, because sometimes you can find and learn some great things by just failing or making a mistake. You learn a lot of things if you allow yourself to stay open during that process.
Oh, yeah. Look, you learn by doing things incorrectly and then doing them right after that. That's how you learn the most. No question about it. Those are learning moments. And, so as we always do, we try to do something a little funny here at the end. So I went to Chat GPT and said, give me a cartoon on failed partnering. And this is what it came up with: the people coming through the walls. Look at the two people at the desk, which is so ridiculous. Partners Inc. I
Yeah.
love I love the way it comes up with this stuff. It's so goofy.
Yeah, but this, I can really relate with this. I've been on both sides of the table where I've been in consulting world and I've been working full time as an
Yeah.
employee at a company that uses consultants. And I can totally relate to this feeling of, I just want to go through the wall and get the information I need. Can somebody just give me what I need? And you get so
Yeah.
frustrated because there's such a huge wall and barrier that's keeping you from the information you need. And I think this picture just nails right on the head, like hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, it did a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, I find some of the cartoons so goofy, but I thought this was
Yeah.
pretty good. I like Chat GPT's cartoons better than Gemini's, to be honest with you. I got to try Grok. Maybe we'll do that next week, see how what Grok does. But anyway, this we're continuing on with this. Now next week we talk about breaking down internal walls and silos. Super important. They exist in so many companies. Even small to mid-sized companies have walls in them now, and so this is really important. You're not going to be able to do great partnering unless you do great partnering internally. So you've got to break down those internal walls and silos. We'll talk about that. We're here every Wednesday, 3 o'clock, for another show. Hope you could join us next week. Thanks for being here.
Yes. Bye for now.